All right, so man, there's a lot of activity out there. Is everyone having fun? Yeah, having a great time? Well, again, thanks for coming to our session. We're very excited to have about a 30-minute conversation here with some really incredible people that have some great perspectives. First, I've got David Treat, Senior Managing Partner at Accenture. We've also got Kelly Puckett's from Gooder. She's Chief Marketing Officer. And we've got Matt Rapicki from Taylor Brands. He's the Chief Brands Officer. So these are our customers and partners. We're really excited to have a conversation today. All right. We can see the airplanes behind you, by the way. All right, David, let's start with you.
Okay.
I'd love to know, we're about to dive into Gooder and to Men's Warehouse, but what trends have you noticed with augmented reality, with businesses and businesses trying to achieve great value with augmented reality?
I think the widest trend, building on your messages from this morning, is just a fundamental mindset shift that for decades, right, it was how do I get my customers to my physical store? And then it was, for the past 20 years, how do we get customers to my website? And really all of that now is now pivoting to a much more human-centric dynamic of how do I bring my products and services into the context of my customer's life, right? So we put the human at the center of it. We basically say, look, whether they are in the store and they need to have a more stunning experience with an augmented reality overlay within the store, or how about we actually bring the store to my closet, right? Or to my pantry or the like. And so that notion of thinking about the customer in the context of their lives and delivering a set of services to them that are valuable in that moment, at that time, anywhere is the obvious powerful trend that you set up beautifully. I think the other part of it that we're very focused on is what does that then mean for the individual's ability to control and manage and have lovable, safe, digital experiences as they move from place to place to place and context to context. And so the whole notion of digital identity, digital currency, digital objects, how do I manage the inventory of things I've purchased? How do then I get better recommendations as to how to use it? How to buy the next one, and the like. So that whole notion of privacy, of wallet infrastructure to hold my identity, money, and objects, all to then provide that foundational layer to support the next generation of experiences in the context of their lives. That's the mega trend, I think.
And David, you guys work with a ton of customers. Are you seeing a greater understanding, greater comfort? Are you guys working to educate people? Tell me more about that.
It's lumpy. There's a lot of education still underway because I think everyone still has the first notion of this whole space is like, oh, it's a new channel. I just want to throw my stuff on a new channel, and that's like wonderful, and we have this spark of a moment. But it's actually for our most advanced customers. That was moving fast. For our most advanced customers, now it's those that are recognizing the utility layer, right? That if they can solve for how do you actually have the utility of identity, money, and objects underpinning the experience. That's what makes the big difference. It's lumpy. Some customers get that implicitly and are leaning in. Others are still in the kind of it's a channel moment. That open call. There needs to be a big open source foundation for this.
You're going to make it really smooth for everyone, though, right?
It's going to take time, but that's the goal, right?
Absolutely.
And so fortunately, there's a big open source push to provide that underpinning layer for, so one of which is we just launched a couple months ago, the Open Wallet Foundation with Linux. It's all of the companies you would expect or want to be building an open source foundation for that wallet infrastructure to house our identity, money, and objects, those that care about privacy, responsibility, consumer advocacy. And if we have that open source layer, then it won't be one wallet to rule them all. And it won't be a wallet per thing. Like actually, we're running a shot at something that's really user-centric.
Makes sense. Fun. So many fun things to do. So I want to jump to Men's Warehouse. I mentioned it in the keynote this morning. So Matt, thanks for being here. You're trying to get your customers' prom and wedding season ready. How are you seeing customers interact in the AR activation? How's that working out for people in your stores?
Yeah, it's super exciting, and we all have memories, some of them fond, some of them not so fond of prom season, and that's where we're at right now. And so prom goers are flooding our stores looking for what they want to wear. And I was on the phone with our New Jersey store actually this morning getting some anecdotes and some input on how customers were working with the mirror. Net, they loved it. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of fun, and there was a story shared with me just today. Customer came in, tried on a couple of looks with the mirror, went to the rack, grabbed the item that they loved, bought it, and walked out. And so I think what was fascinating is there's just this like digital fluency there of that customer understanding how to engage with the product. But also it saves time. To the point you made earlier, Jill, on like reducing returnability, I think there's a lot there that we can start to and continue to work with. So it's been a lot of fun seeing it so far.
That's great. We love seeing real business value, real value for customers. Kelly, we've had a really fun run at Gooder as well with getting Shopping Suite up and running live. Tell me more about how you've experienced this and how was the implementation process? How did you guys bring it to life?
Certainly, it's been a very collaborative process since we first added to our website in 2020, and the Snap team was incredibly helpful with the initial integration, and since then has been very communicative and collaborative about making sure we're up to date with the latest features. But beyond that, it is a very simple process. We send over our physical product, which is our sunglasses, and then they scan and convert into 3D and AR assets. And then we're given the opportunity to test, review, and approve. So it's been a really seamless process. And we've seen a significant increase in online sales since then. So it's something we're going to continue to leverage across Gooder.com.
Speaking of that increase, 81% uplift. That's
Yes.
really exciting. This is in the keynote as well. 67% uplift in conversion, 81% uplift in add to cart. And so what have you been hearing from your customers? Have they been really excited about this experience as well?
Yes, we've seen a very impressive lift, and I think first to give some context as to why, we have a singular storefront on Abbot Kinney, which we refer to as the Gooder Cabana, which we very much see as an experiential marketing tool, and it allows our customers to connect with our brand in person and, more importantly, touch and try on our product, which is very impactful. So applying that same experiential concept to Gooder.com, utilizing that 3D technology allows our customers to have a very similar experience to that they have at the Cabana. And since touching and specifically trying on product is the biggest driver in interest and adoption, we see 3D technology as a very important part of that digital experience. So it's been incredibly powerful, and obviously since a lot of our traffic comes from mobile, it only makes sense that we enable that technology on our mobile shopping experience as well. And just in terms of what we're hearing from our customers, that virtual try-on really helps to mitigate that buyer's remorse, and it helps them make a more confident and informed decision, which in turn leads to greater customer satisfaction, which is really important to us. And I think we can also make some assumptions that it's pushing them to make bolder choices in their purchases, whereas without virtual try-on, they might default to our black or tortoiseshell original frames. They're enticed to try on the different models that we offer, our different colorways and styles. So that's been a really impactful piece of all of this as well.
That's such a great point. Actually, when I was playing with the Gooder website, I would have normally gone for a very conservative style as well, but it made me try on those like racer green fluorescent.
Yes.
I loved them. I was like, these are so fun.
Yes, and that's what we see with the in-person experience is someone is more willing to try different styles and different colorways, and so we're able to bring that to Gooder.com, which is huge.
That's so fun. So Matt, what have you been seeing in terms of augmented reality in general, or even just how things are evolving in terms of technology for your Men's Warehouse stores?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have had virtual try-on for a while, and we've been using filters for a while. I think the progression of it, again, with us testing the mirror is so incredible because it shows the breadth of functionality and opportunity for the customer. We know for the Men's Warehouse customer specifically, fit is the most important thing. And where else can you really ensure fit than through a virtual try-on? And David was showing me before we walked on stage, he tried the mirror last week with some Men's Warehouse tuxedos. Looked phenomenal, but we talked about how fit really is so important, and you can only get that through that type of technology and that type of feature. And so I mentioned we are using it really acutely right now for prom season. But we also obviously outfit probably more weddings than any other menswear retailer in the country. And so when a groom is coming in and figuring out what he wants to wear, what he wants his wedding party to wear, the ability to not only try a bunch of different looks, but also share that with your wedding party who might be located anywhere around the country or around the world, I just think is unparalleled as a way to ease the process and make them feel good about their decision.
It's not something that we talk about often enough, but the shareability is a key component. I was actually with a group of agency leaders earlier this week, And they talked about being able to track and understand the actual impact of that shareability as you move through this experience and have the opportunity to share many things.
Well, and that's just the beginning, right? Like part of the, after I've purchased a set of glasses and a couple of suits, from a shareability perspective, like we've got a team that's now put together an AI engine that tracks the inventory of what I bought and said, hey, you haven't worn this one in a while, or the weather's gonna be that, so here's what we recommend. Or from a shareable perspective, all your friends are wearing this, you're gonna fit in or stand out, right? Like thank you for the memo on black for today. So that whole notion of not having the experience end at the moment you get the goods, whether it's clothing or a power tool or wherever it is, but having that elongated longitudinal relationship with the brand that can then give you advice on how to use it differently, or how to wear it differently, or what the next one is to buy. That long-standing relationship, I think, is going to be wildly powerful as we move forward.
You were the only person that cheered when I said performance analytics this morning, weren't you? That was like a big deal. I do think that as we evolve AR technology, the performance analytics that we get out of the products and what it's doing for us is going to be a really interesting thing for businesses to really take in. What else do you think you'll see in terms of the evolution of this technology helping businesses?
So we do think about the world in customer, industrial, and enterprise, and I know we're going to be customer focused here. So I'll stick to that.
You can talk about all three.
I'll do quickly two others, right?
Okay.
There is. Let's just take the industrial space. We have a number of AR activations right now where it's life or death, right? It's the training in the field to have a visual overlay to say, touch that, don't touch that. Right, you touch that, you die. Touch this, you get the job done. Right, that guidance for field workers in an industrial setting, having an AR overlay, is deeply impactful. Right, life or death. We'll bring it back to the customer space. Really thinking about it from I love how you framed it. Like, am I increasing the confidence in the purchase? The return rate reduction is an eye opener for the whole, consumer products, fashion. I mean, that is huge, right? That is you get them to that part of the conversation and they're done. They're sold. They're like, if we can reduce returns. But as I said, I think there's some boring stuff that's going to be really powerful too. And I don't mean to say it that way. Part of my team just got really mad at me. But linking those experiences and the data that you're getting around how many things were tried on before it was fit. Can we get that feedback back to the actual creator? Can we update the supply chain and change the predictability of the movement and pre-placement of goods based on the data we're getting because we had just 100 people in front of the mirror and they all liked this, and we if within the bounds of what's appropriate, we can then trace that to demographics, map that to locations. Suddenly now that whole notion of optimizing a supply chain, shortening shortening it, making it more sustainable, more efficient. Really, this is not, I'm repeating myself now, but it's not just a new channel. This is going to be fundamentally overhaul the entire infrastructure of how does the CFO, the COO, the CTO think about how to deliver valuable services to customers.
Are you guys seeing this in your businesses as well, that the CIO, the CTO also interested in how are we using this and excited about it? Or is there fear, is there risk that they're experiencing?
Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I think we're just beginning to dive into this, so we definitely want to pull as much information as we can about our customers, and I think that is a next step with this, and we want to open them up to, again, seeing all of the products that we offer. So that's an important piece of this, and how do we drive them to exploring more, just on our website and on the mobile experience. And they obviously want the opportunity to try before they buy. I think that's really, really important to them. There's already a pretty low barrier to purchase with our product. We make $25 active eyewear, and now you're reducing another barrier, which is, will these glasses look good on me? And so they're definitely embracing it, and that's amazing to see. And so, yeah, I think they want this.
But I think even beyond the safety part of it, at least for us, it's around accuracy and it's around convenience. And so I think as we continue to roll out features and functions and really engage customers to use AR, it has to look like they expect it to look. It has to be something that feels right to them. And so I think that's where there's continued opportunity. I think, Jill, to your earlier question also in terms of internal adoption across the organization, we really pride ourselves on being customer first. So we look at customer insights, and we have an insight that customers find this process challenging and complex. And so if there's a way to solve it and we can work with our technology partners to get there, I think everybody's on board. The analytics are not the boring part at all. The analytics are what's going to make sure that it's right, it's the right investment for the business, and you want to keep propelling it forward. And so I think looking for us at time saved in store, at purchase repetition or frequency, and so what are the other KPIs that we should really be tracking as we roll this out further?
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest things, again, that we don't really talk about openly yet. Maybe it's just starting soon. The notion of what the winning digital business has been is fundamentally changing from what it's going to be next, right? And both of what you're conveying is the future. In the current and the previous mode, the winning digital business was the one who could harvest the most possible data off of a network or their positioning within an ecosystem, or buy it, it's second and third hand, and then amass all of that data and then high five each other if we've got a 5% hit rate on an ad campaign because we got it right? Or said differently, we're high fiving each other because we got it 95% wrong. And so that's that's the world we've been living in, where we have no control over our data. It's everywhere. It's sold and resold. What both of you are describing is the future. And what Snap has been all about is if you can have the deep trusted relationship with the individual that then gives them the utility that you're describing to want to then share the information with you to get better hyper-personalized service, the winning digital business in the next period is the one that establishes that most trusted relationship and earns the right to then have access to actual data. Right, for a brand that captures my love and I want that hyper-personalized service, I'll give you my real data. I'll give you my actual data because you're going to give me better service, and we have that exchange. That just hasn't been enabled by the technology for the past decades. So I'm excited for that. That we're just going to change the nature of why you win, and it being about that trusted relationship.
Yeah. Are you guys seeing the same things? I mean, just this trusted relationship idea being more important than trying to get more and more data from your customers. Is that something that your executives and your marketing teams are also thinking about?
I mean, certainly customer satisfaction is probably most important to us, and so we want to be able to maintain that. And I think we've worked really hard through our existence to make sure we're always creating that customer satisfaction, creating that trust. So we want to continue to do that, but also offer better experiences for them, better shopping experiences. And so we want to continue to find ways to do that as well.
I'm hearing a big theme in creating a better, easier, simpler, faster customer experience, right? You're trying to create that simplicity, low friction process because that's what everybody expects today. It's not that they're even looking for it or they expect it, right? It's kind of a baseline.
It is, and I think what we're finding is that there's a lot of, I'll say word of mouth, and that could be me calling a friend and telling them about my experience, but there's also digital word of mouth, if you will, and having earning the trust of the customer for your brand, I think is so critical to get someone to try to work with you. I mean, we saw last year was, as we call it, the year of the wedding, more weddings last year than any year since 1984. Fun fact. We did a lot of those weddings, but the people who got married last year and the hundreds of guests at each of those weddings are going to come back to us when they're ready to get married because of the experience they had, right? And so you start to build that equity, and you have to maintain that equity, and as soon as you lose that trust, then it all goes out the window. So I think to the points that are being made, yes, you need to go where the customer's at and give them the experience they're looking for, but do it in a way that feels grounded and that they feel safe with.
Mm-hmm. Feeling safe, so important. Okay, I want to take a little pivot because there's a lot of excitement going on, but we're still relatively early in having kind of full proliferation of augmented reality. What are the mistakes that have been made? Do you have some, experiences of things that didn't go exactly right? Because I know all of our audience members want to learn about how to do this even better.
I'm happy to start. Again, I'm not going to throw any one of my clients under the bus, but there've been we've had dynamics where the intent from the beginning was to grab a marketing headline. Right, it was just let's throw something out there, let's grab the headline, we want to be seen as cool, we want to have the buzz, and then in the moment later, it was well, if you didn't add the utility, if you didn't add that reason to do it again or come back, or those are then frustrating conversations to basically say, okay, there was value in what we did, but now can we actually pivot to actual utility for the customer,
Right.
to be able to buy more of it, get better service from it, learn how to use it, and the like. So I think that's been my primary frustration point is, and it's not my, internally as well. I mean, we just, that it's always fun to play with the new shiny object, and it's not even that new. We've been at this for a while, but we're still we're still in that shiny object stage. So the faster we can get to actual value, the better.
Really looking for the value and tracking it then, right? I mean, that's part of what you should be looking for in a technology solution. I know that when we talk about innovation budgets, everybody kind of coils back, right? Because, how are we going to have the same funding next year to do this?
And can I add one more? That's fun for this group in the augmented reality space. There's been a whole bunch of just deep misunderstanding of the virtual reality space. Of I can't tell you how many of my clients basically said, okay, we're going to create a virtual reality based digital twin of my store so you can walk the aisles. I'm like, why? What was
What's the purpose?
How was that helpful? Instead of then thinking about using AR to put it in the context of people's lives, and you kind of so a lot of those early motions are necessary. I think we're just at the beginning of getting to that. Horses for courses, right? There's utility in different modes and different modes of this technology space, but we really are at the beginning.
That's great. Kelly, thoughts on mistakes, things you would do differently?
Yeah, I love that you talked about shiny object syndrome. We call it SOS internally, and we're always, wary of making sure that we're thinking about that. But I think AR was a natural evolution for our product, giving our customers the ability to try on. So I don't know that we've had major mistakes. I think it's just that we've been testing it over time, figuring out the best experience on our website. And so we've just been adapting as we've been using it. I don't know if we've had any major mistakes I would call out yet. I think it's just a lot of key learnings, and we're continuing to adapt and grow as we're utilizing it and as we learn.
Yeah, fantastic. Matt?
I love what you just said there, David, about just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And I think that's also really important when you're thinking about the customer experience. Mistakes-wise for us, again, I think similarly, we're still fairly early in our journey, but going back to what I said earlier about accuracy, I think we have tested some models by which the product didn't look that great on you. And so the customer walks away thinking, well, I don't want a tuxedo that looks like this. And of course, in real life, that's not how it would look. So I think the evolution and continued improvement of the functionality is really going to help. I'll liken it to the conversation this morning around the evolution of Bitmojis, right? And so it went from this to this. I think similarly, as AR can continue to advance, it gets the customer, like I said, feeling like, wow, this really looks and fits and feels the way I want it to.
I love thinking about the process and what mistakes we've made so that we can learn early, because we're only going to get faster, right? Right now, the SDK that we've developed and released is such a quick implementation cycle. And so the only thing you're really limited by is how quickly you can get your assets, your digital assets loaded and then onto your website. So I'm really excited about where we're going, but I also want to make sure that everybody's doing this in a very healthy way. Okay, so we're running a little bit short on time. We've got a little bit, 5 minutes left. So how about some final thoughts? Just encouragement to the audience, or things that I haven't asked about that you'd like to share.
Maybe just continuing that topic a little bit. I think we have this narrow window of time, we have a really narrow window of time to have the conversations around, not law and regulation certainly, but I think more community values and policies to set what does the responsible implementation of these technologies actually look like before we really do get to incredible scale. Right, in terms of into the corporate and enterprise community in particular. If we don't take advantage of this narrow window of time, I think we'll all regret it. I think if any one of us could wave a wand and go back to the scaling of social media, we probably would have some really deep conversations around privacy and control of data and the like. So just an open call. Anyone who's thinking about this space, there are incredible open source, open standards, policy-based groups forming around different dimensions. I think we need to bring them more together. We need to keep it nonpartisan, keep the political aspects, as far away as possible. But we have this narrow window of time I think we have to take max advantage of before it does just get out of control again.
I think I would add that another important aspect of this that we didn't hit on is that we are very proud to be 100% carbon neutral. We are a member of 1% for the Planet, so we love that Snap AR as well as our green returns, which is where we allow our customers to keep product that they want to return, is reducing our overall carbon footprint. So I think that's another very important piece of this that we really love. So I would just add that as well.
The sustainability aspect is huge, right? It's even underestimated in how big an impact this can make, right? If we're really leveraging to the greatest extent.
Definitely.
Thanks, Kelly.
I love that. And I think, for us, it's two things. One is continuing to make it, I'll call it, say, omni-channel, right? And so giving the customer the opportunity to experience it wherever they want to go, not where you want to put them. And the second is really around insights and analytics. And we kind of touched on this earlier, but the more you can learn as fast and as quickly as you can learn it from the customer about their experience, the better you're going to be equipped to improve the experience and get higher adoption. And so I think it's like keeping your ear to the proverbial ground on what the customer is saying about your experience that you've built and how to use that to improve it.
Getting customer feedback continually, so important. All right, well, I want to thank you all for joining us. This time flew by together. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation. David, Kelly, Matt, thank you so much for joining me on stage. It's been super fun, and I look forward to the journey ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks everyone.